Hello world, this is Random Fix. In this video today, we're going to be covering the Kia drive cycle for a 1996 and newer Kia vehicle. So you're going to need one of these OBD2 connectors here, and these connectors just plug into the driver's side wheel well area. They only go in one way. I'm touching mine right now, the white one. Yours might be a little bit different. I'll have a link to this, and as soon as you plug this in to the OBD2 port, you're going to notice that you get power. So you want to make sure that your ignition is on, but your engine is off. And with that, you're going to be able to go ahead and scan the vehicle, and we could check the inspection monitors for your drive cycle, so you can get your drive cycle completed and pass an emissions test. And if you don't have a Kia, check out the video links down below, because I'm going to cover each vehicle make with you in depth. Thanks again, and let's get this video started. And before we jump into the drive cycle, check out the Smog Tips playlist. And once you click on the playlist, you can actually watch the whole drive cycle in process, where I'm going to show you how to do this on the road. And if you need further assistance on how to understand these inspection monitors, check out this video titled "What to Do to Smog a Car." Hello world, this is Random Fix. In this video today, we're going to be discussing the Kia Emissions drive cycle for 1996 and newer Kias. So if you have a Kia that needs to get the drive monitors ready, I'm going to show you how to do that now. And before we dive into the drive cycle procedure, there's some basic vocabulary we have to understand. And the very first thing right here is OBD2. This stands for Onboard Diagnostics Type 2. And this started in 1996. And before 1996, the whole diagnosis of a vehicle was a mess, because each vehicle manufacturer had their own connector. So after 1996, this little connector actually became a great benefit for consumers, and you can get them for under 30 bucks. I'll have a link down in the description box of the video. DTC stands for Diagnostic Trouble Codes, and there's pending diagnostic trouble codes and hard set ones. And a hard set code is one where the vehicle has actually detected the issue, versus a pending code, which is one where the vehicle has detected the issue. It just needs to get more information before it triggers the check engine light. MIL stands for Malfunction Indicator Light, aka the check engine light, service engine soon light. When you're using an OBD2 reader, you're going to see on certain scan tools, it's going to say OK. When this does say that, it's the same thing as complete, that monitor is set and that monitor is ready. When you see INC, that means it's incomplete, unset, and not ready. And if a monitor displays NA, basically this isn't applied towards your vehicle, and go ahead and skip that monitor. And right here I have 5 monitors listed, and this is the order that the monitors normally set in. So the first monitor normally to set is oxygen sensor heater. And the oxygen sensor heater helps the oxygen sensor get up to speed faster, so the vehicle can do a better job of controlling the emissions during the warm-up cycles. We have the oxygen sensor, and on most 4-cylinder vehicles, for example, there's at least 2 oxygen sensors, and there's one before the catalytic converter, which is known as a pre-cat, also the upstream cat, and these are the same exact oxygen sensor. And then the one right after the catalytic converter is known as the post-cat or downstream oxygen sensor. We have the EGR monitor. We have the cat monitor. And sometimes you'll hear people say, my cats have gone bad. They're referring to their catalytic converters. And the catalytic converter is the part, and the cat is the monitor that's displayed on your OBD2 reader. And the EVAP is going to be the evaporative emissions control system. And basically, in short, this keeps the fumes out of the air. And as a helpful tip, make sure you're using a stopwatch while you're doing this test, as it'll make it a lot easier to conduct it. And there's some technical parameters that we need to understand about the Kia drive cycle before we jump into it. And one of them is going to be that the check engine light has to be off, and there cannot be any pending codes. And the gas level needs to be between 1/4 to 3/4, and 3/4 is going to be highly recommended. The AC needs to be off, as well as the rear defrost. And make sure that the check engine light is not on, but there are no stored codes. So when you see a P next to your code, that's normally telling you there's a pending code. So those items actually have to be fixed before you complete the drive cycle. No matter how well you do the drive cycle, if there's a real issue with your vehicle, it cannot get ready. And so please get that fixed first. Avoid sudden acceleration, sharp turns, or sudden braking. The night before, lock your doors and keep your car's keys far away from them, because a lot of the newer vehicles detect the keys. That may actually keep it from going into a deep sleep, and thus allowing the drive cycle to be completed correctly. So this is the drive cycle here for Kia cars, and this drive cycle is going to be effective for about 90% of vehicles. And I'm going to show you a variant for something like the K900. So the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and start the vehicle. So when the vehicle has sat overnight on a level surface, we're going to start the engine and we're going to let the vehicle warm up till the coolant is at least 160 degrees Fahrenheit. 8 minutes of idle is recommended, because the key word here is at least. So this warm-up cycle is really important, because this helps get our oxygen sensor heater ready, and that will allow the actual oxygen sensor to get ready. And once the 8 minutes has passed, you're going to go ahead and accelerate to speeds of 50 to 55 miles an hour and hold that speed constant for 8 minutes. So if you're able to go ahead and lock in your speed to 52 miles an hour, so keep that speed constant at 52 miles an hour then. So you can only use a quarter throttle max. So it really helps to have this done on a flat level road when you're doing this. Then you're going to decelerate. Basically, you're going to remove your foot off the gas pedal. That's what I call coast right here, to under 20 miles an hour without touching the gas or the brake. And you want to make sure you do not shift gears, don't do anything. And once you're under 20 miles an hour, then you can use the brake to come to a complete stop. You want to idle in gear, so drive for automatics, neutral for manual transmissions. And after the 90 seconds of idle is up, you're going to then idle again for 90 seconds in park this time. And if you have a manual transmission, just go ahead and keep it in neutral. Turn the vehicle off and wait 90 seconds, and you're going to restart your vehicle. And once your vehicle has restarted, you're going to accelerate within 15 seconds to 50 to 55 miles an hour again. This time you can go a little bit heavier on the throttle, so you can stay between a quarter to 3/4 throttle. And when you're doing this, please do not use cruise control. Come to a complete stop by using the brake pedal to slow down within 15 seconds. And once you've come to a complete stop, you're going to go and repeat step 5 and 6 again. So again, you're going to accelerate, hold that speed for 5 minutes. You're going to come to a complete stop by braking and slowing down within 15 seconds. And this time, instead, what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and idle the vehicle in gear. So drive for automatics, manual transmissions are going to be in neutral, and you're going to idle that for 90 seconds. You're going to go ahead and turn off the vehicle, wait 90 seconds, and then you're going to use that OBD2 reader that we talked about earlier in the video. Plug that in and check the status of the monitors. And depending on the age, condition of your vehicle, some vehicles might have to get this done a couple of times for the monitors to actually set. For your oxygen sensor heater and oxygen sensor, the warm-up cycle is very important. For your EGR, the coasting is really important. For your catalyst, the high-speed driving is very important. For your evap, you want to make sure your fuel level is within that quarter to 3/4 tank. And you want to make sure you don't do those sudden accelerations, sudden braking, sudden turns. And this will all help your monitors set. And this is the drive cycle for something like a K900. So with this is a little bit longer. We're going to start off with starting the engine, let the vehicle idle for 5 minutes in park or neutral. Then you want to go ahead and drive. And whenever you find a place where you can go from a complete stop to 50 miles an hour within 15 seconds using between 25 to 75% throttle, maintain that speed of 50 miles an hour for a total of 8 minutes. And after you've driven the 50 miles an hour for 8 minutes, go ahead and decrease speeds down from 50 miles an hour to 0. So a complete stop by using the brake pedal. And when you get to a complete stop, go ahead and put the vehicle in park and let it idle for 15 minutes. Step 4, we're going to go ahead and drive the vehicle now to 55 miles an hour. And we're going to go ahead and do that with a heavier throttle. So we're going to use 25 to 75% throttle, and we're going to drive at 55 miles an hour for 1 minute. Then we're going to go ahead and stop the vehicle. And again, we're going to stop it by using the brake pedal to slow down within 15 seconds. We're going to let it idle for 1 minute in drive this time. We're going to repeat steps 4 and 5 once again. And step 7 is going to be you're going to drive the vehicle for 40 miles an hour for 1 minute. And now you want to increase speeds from 40 to 55 miles an hour in 15 seconds by using the throttle a little bit heavier. And once you get to 55 miles an hour, you want to go ahead and hold that speed for 5 seconds. And once that 5 seconds is achieved, let your foot off the gas pedal. So you're going to coast down to 40 miles an hour, and you're going to hold that speed of 40 miles an hour for 1 minute. You're going to repeat steps 8 and 9 a total of 5 times. And step 11 is going to be on the 5th cycle of step 10. So when you're coming off of step 9 here, instead of decreasing speeds down to 40 miles an hour, you want to just let your foot off the gas pedal all the way and coast to under 15 miles an hour, and then come to a complete stop using the brake pedal. Once you've come to a complete stop, go ahead and let the vehicle idle in drive for automatic transmissions and neutral for manual transmissions. And the drive cycle is now complete. Go ahead and turn the vehicle ignition off. Wait 90 seconds to check the inspection monitors. And again, if any monitors are incomplete, go ahead and repeat the drive cycle. Again, if your oxygen sensor or your oxygen sensor heater monitor is not ready, the warm-up cycle really helps that monitor get ready. For your EGR monitor, the coasting from 55 miles an hour down to under 15 miles an hour really helps. For the catalyst, the high-speed driving at a constant speed really helps. And for the evap, just making sure you have that gas level between 1/4 to 3/4 tank and not really refueling during the test, avoiding those hills, avoiding the fuel just sloshing around the back helps with the evap. And just make sure you keep your speed nice and constant, and you'll get this drive cycle completed. And if you need additional help, I'm going to be covering a little bit more of the drive cycle in depth with you guys. And there's a bunch of resources on the Smog Tips playlist if you guys haven't checked those out. Hey guys, really quick, if you're finding this video to be helpful and you're enjoying the content, please consider hitting that thumbs up button and subscribing to the channel as well, as it lets YouTube and me know that I'm doing a good job and bringing you guys value content. Thanks. And once your monitors are set, you're ready to now go and get the vehicle smogged. Remember, if your vehicle is a 96 through 99 vehicle, you will have to get the vehicle tested on a dyno at 15 and 25 miles an hour. They're going to use a gas analyzer to test the vehicle's emissions. They're going to test your gas cap. They'll do some other tests, and they're also going to do a visual. Even if you have a 2000 and newer vehicle, they're going to do a visual. But on a 2000 and newer vehicle, they're just going to check for the OBD2 readiness. So they're going to plug in their OBD2 reader into the vehicle from the state and check the monitors. Remember, the visual inspection consists of checking for altered parts like cold air intakes, throttle spacers, cracked vacuum hoses, missing catalytic converters. They're going to do a visual smoke test to make sure that you don't have clouds of smoke coming out the tailpipe. And as of the end of 2020, this is the current rules here for California. And California happens to be one of the stricter states, so you have to check the regulations for your own state. Here in California, if you have a 96 through 99 vehicle, you can have any one monitor show incomplete and still pass. Now, depending on the Smog station, they may just go ahead and plug in their OBD2 reader is not connected to the state, see that you have a monitor that's incomplete, and tell you to keep driving, because they don't want anything to come back to them to show that on their record for the shop showing that they passed X amount of vehicles with unset monitors. So if that happens to you, go to another station. And if you have a 2000 and newer vehicle, only the evap could be unset. And with diesel powered vehicles 98 through 2006, basically all the monitors have to show complete. On newer diesel vehicles 2007 and newer, you can have any two monitors show incomplete. And remember, when you're selling a car, it's the seller's responsibility to make sure that they supply the buyer with a Smog certificate. And normally there's no way of waiving this requirement unless you're selling to a dealer or dismantler. So even if you write as is on the title, that doesn't really mean anything, because if it goes to court, you're most likely going to lose that suit unless they're a dealer or a dismantler. And if you're a buyer, never buy a vehicle unless all the inspection monitors are ready. And 99% of the times, if the inspection monitors are not ready, is because somebody has erased that check engine light on purpose to cover up an existing issue, whether it's a dealer or a private seller. And 1% of the time is caused by a weak or faulty battery. And if this is the case, you still have to find out why that battery is dying, because you could have a potential short, you could have an alternator. And when there's a bad battery in a vehicle, all kinds of funny things start happening, from smog emissions monitors not getting ready to transmissions acting up. And it's a big list of potential issues. I'm going to show you guys the configuration on a typical 4-cylinder vehicle here. And on a typical 4-cylinder vehicle, you have 2 oxygen sensors and 1 catalytic converter. So here's the vehicle here. This is the engine. And as the exhaust makes it out the engine block through the headers, downpipe, and it will go past this upstream oxygen sensor, which is known as the pre-cat oxygen sensor. And then the exhaust will go through the catalytic converter here. Then the downstream or post-cat oxygen sensor will go ahead and get a reading. And the way the computer is able to verify the efficiency of the catalytic converter here is by taking this reading and this reading and comparing them based on the parameters of what the vehicle manufacturer has set up to verify that this in fact is working correctly. And after the emissions pass the downstream oxygen sensor, it goes through a little resonator here, down through the tailpipe, through the muffler, and out to the atmosphere. And here on a 6-cylinder or 8-cylinder, I'm going to show you guys a couple of diagrams down here. On these, you can have 3 or 4 oxygen sensors depending on the setup, and 1 or 2 catalytic converters. So if we look at this diagram right here, this is a V6 motor. So it has a total of 6 cylinders, 3 on one side, 3 on the other side, thus making it a V6 motor. And whatever side cylinder number 1 is located on, that's called bank 1. So if you're dealing with an emissions issue and it tells you that sensor 1 on bank 2 is bad or acting up, you can look at the opposite side of cylinder 1 and know that it's the opposite side, this sensor right here, that may potentially need to get replaced. So we have 1, 2, 3 oxygen sensors on this vehicle and 1 catalytic converter. And this too is a V6 motor. The only difference is the cylinder number 1 is located on the lower side here, and this is bank 1, and now this is bank 2. And here on this setup here, this is a V6 motor, and we have a total of 6 cylinders again, 3 on one side, 3 on the other side. But now we have 1, 2, 3, 4 oxygen sensors, and 1, 2 catalytic converters. And if it was a V8, it would just have an extra cylinder on each side. And here's my top 8 tips to pass an emissions test. The very first one is going to be, make sure that you smog right the very first time. So if you know your vehicle has an issue, you want to make sure to get that issue fixed before you try to go and smog the vehicle. And you should never really fail an emissions test, because with these simple scan tools, you can verify that all the monitors are ready. And before you go to the station, you can just do a simple plug-in, and it'll let you know that the car's inspection monitors are ready. And you can do this with confidence, knowing that you're going to go and pass now, because any failed emissions data will get reported to Carfax and AutoCheck, and this can actually reduce the value of your vehicle. Number 2, you want to make sure that the check engine light is off but working. So before you purchase a vehicle, put the key in the ignition and turn it to the very last position and verify that the check engine light is there. And I've seen people actually remove the check engine light. 3, this really helps with those 96 through 99 vehicles. You want to make sure that the tires are properly inflated, as this will lessen the load and will allow the vehicle better operations. The same thing with the oil here. The oil actually contains a lot of the hydrocarbons, and since they're going to be doing a real emissions test using a gas analyzer, you want to make sure you reduce the hydrocarbon numbers here, and this is a simple oil change. And tip 5, you want to go ahead and take the vehicle for a very long test drive before you reach the emission station, and leave the car on if possible before you get it tested with the emissions probe. Tip number 6, use some fuel additives. I personally love the Lucas Oil upper cylinder loop. You'll find a link to this in the video box below, as well as anything else that I showed you guys in the video. Tip number 7, you want to avoid wet weather, and this is not to say that you cannot pass an emissions test with it raining outside. However, you'll just get much better results if the tires are dry. And tip number 8, do not disconnect the battery unless you have a battery saver device set up, and these are about $15. And basically this will keep your car's computer data, your clocks, your radio stations all in sync. And remember, the only real solution oftentimes is to repair or replace the component. So there's no such thing as a miracle in a bottle. But if you're looking for a quick fix for your catalytic converter, just because maybe you don't have the time or money to go and have that issue fixed, I have a couple of videos down in the video box below that cover such products, and I'll give you guys my honest and truthful review of them and some preventative tips here. I love doing everything myself, so if you can try doing some of the simpler repairs yourself, like the engine oil changes, transmission fluids, differentials, changing the filters, the engine air filter, the cabin air filter, the fuel filter, if you clean your throttle body, change the wipers, and do the brakes on your own vehicle. This is such a nice thing to start doing, because the more you learn about a vehicle, the better off you're going to be as far as taking care of it. And what I have found out from my own experience of working on cars over the last 27 years is the time that I actually save doesn't even compare to the amount of money, because a lot of people will go and get their oil changed at the dealer, and that could take 1 hour or 2 hours. Most of the times I'm able to change the oil on my vehicle in under 15 minutes. So not only did I save between 60 to 80 bucks, but I saved myself at least 45 minutes of not having to wait around. and I got it done and I can go move on with my life. Thank you so much for watching the video. If the video was helpful, please comment down below. If you guys are new to the channel, please consider subscribing by smashing on this big red button right here. And you could also click on that notification icon, so anytime I post videos that you guys will get notified. I would love to hear your comments down below on how the video was put together. If you guys got any recommendations, I would love to hear from you, as it would allow me to do a better job on future videos. Thanks again, and definitely check out the Smog Tips playlist for more helpful videos.